Okay, I am back from my week-long super trip to Washington, D.C., where I crashed with my friend Fancy Pants and her family for a little while, and from Animazement. So I'm going to make two videos this week. One is going to focus on the social aspect of my trip, which is for my one regular viewers, and I talk about. And the other video is my GLEX video, where I talk just about the space conference, because it has been my experience that the people who want to hear about that only want to hear about that, and anyone else who wants to hear about anything doesn't want to hear about that. So, for now, I'm going to talk about my social, family, crazy experiences. So, okay. My plan was to arrive on Monday, crash with Fancy Pants and her aunt and uncle for a few days, come back on Thursday by car that my older brother rented, because neither Greyhound nor Amtrak offered a good trip back that I was really able to make use of in a way that would make me not miss the majority of the convention. So, anyway, we had a plan to rent a car, and the car rental was going to be very expensive, to the point that it was kind of a harebrained idea and I probably should have come up with something else. But anyway, okay, so I get on the train and I ride up to DC. Fancy Pants had given me very specific directions. They were excellent. She's great at giving directions on how to ride the metro. She said you buy a smart card, and then you load it with money, and then you can ride the metro around. And the smart card also works for the buses in the area, so it makes life extra simple. So great! So I take Amtrak from Raleigh to DC. I get off, and I'm now at Union Station in Washington, D.C. So, yeah, I spent like half the time feeling like I was in enemy territory because whatever. The scars of that old war run kind of deep, and culturally the southern people are sometimes still outsiders. Anyway, so I'm there, and I had trouble finding the metro, but several different people were able to help me. All of them. Thank all 5 of you for giving me the directions. You go to the end and then turn right. You're not at the end, you go to the end and then turn right. Okay, I finally found the end. Really, I thought I'd hit it like 5 times. It was crazy. So I get there, and the smart card dispenser is broken. And the metro attendants are the first people I've encountered who are not helpful. Oops. So, I start looking around for other options, and I see something called a fare card. And I finally decide, okay, I'm going to get $10, put it on a fare card, and it looks like it says it will let me ride the metro. And once I get to Fancy Pants' place, I'll be good. So if I screw up, I've only screwed up $10 worth. That's a burrito. Not that I still get to buy burritos. And so I go up to this automatic machine. I hand it 2 5s, and it spits out a fare card at me. And I really mean spits. It doesn't put it out and wait for me to take it. It spits it out like it can't be rid of me soon enough. So as I'm picking up my fare card, this lady comes up and says, "Hey, I'm not familiar with the metro. Do you know how to ride it?" And I said, "No, I just hope that I'm not throwing my money away." And I hope she believed me because I was telling the truth. So I then got on the metro. I put my fare card in. It's got a little panda on it. Kind of cool. The machine takes it and then hands it back. And the turnstile opens. So I can now get into the metro system. So I go in, I get down, I get on the line I'm supposed to get on, and they have maps up. and they are, well, they're topographical maps. We discussed them some in my map classes, where they map the relationships of things, like you have a stop here and the next stop is here. But they don't necessarily reflect the physicality of the train line perfectly, but they don't have to, because you don't care. If you know the next stop is my stop, that's all you care about. So anyway, I get on this line, and I go to the point where she told me to get off, which is actually at the end of the line. Well, I go until I make my transfer, and then I transfer, and then I go until the end of the line. So then, when I got on the line where she was going to pick me up from, I called her like she said to, and she came and picked me up at the stop at the end. Everything was good, I thought. So I woke up with my suitcase. I'm all happy, I feel good. And she says, "Where's your suit? I know you have a suit. Why didn't you bring your suit?" And I said, because it was going to be a pain in the butt to bring it on the train, and I wasn't sure how it would work on the metro, so I just didn't bring it. I didn't want it to get messed up or lost. She said, "Okay, we're going to look at what you've got." So she took me back to her aunt and uncle's, where I was staying in the guest room. And then what happened? Oh yeah, she said, "Let me see what you were planning to wear to the conference." And I pull out the stuff like I was planning to wear. And there's a reason I call her Fancy Pants. It's because she knows about the things that I don't know about. So her criticism is exactly what I was looking for, like constructive criticism. And she said, you know, things like, "These pants aren't actually dress pants. They're like kind of casual khakis. They would be okay to wear to work, but they're not what you want to wear when you're trying to make an impression on somebody." She's like, look at the way the seams are cut and stuff. And I'm like, "Okay, Fancy Pants." So she decides we're going shopping. And I said, "I'm hungry." And she said, "The place for clothing closes first. We're going shopping first." Because she seemed to think that I really needed some clothes so I would not be out of place, and I trusted her judgment. So I then went shopping with her. I bought on credit, and I had my fingers crossed, and I said, "Okay, that's about half of the money that I have that's kind of," you know how you always plan a little bit of money as a buffer if you're planning intelligently? That was about half of my buffer money. So I'm a little nervous, but I'm hoping it's money well spent. Then we go to dinner, then we go home. Had a good time. Wonderful, delicious, some kind of Turkish food. Anyway, I got some kind of shish kebab. It was beef. I felt kind of awkward getting New York beef at a Turkish place, but she said, "Get whatever you think you're gonna like," and since I was already kind of outside my comfort zone, I went with something safe. So we got back to her place. I was pooped, but we sat down and we started going over my schedule, and my schedule was terrible. The conference started at 8, which meant I had to be on the metro by 7. I had to be on the public transportation. I think I took a bus and then the metro by 7, which meant I had to get up before 7 to get there. I think I set my alarm for like 6, and she was nice enough to drop me off at the bus stop, which was only like a mile and a half from her house. I could have walked it, but it was very nice to have a ride to the bus stop. And she sort of kind of insisted, as in when I first said I could walk that, she said, "No, it's okay," and I didn't argue anymore. So we found out I was gonna be up really early, and then we also saw that things ran really late. On Tuesday, the conference ran until 8-ish. I forget why. On Wednesday, there was a social sponsored by Lockheed Martin. It was a dinner social where they had food. Food that would always be gone as soon as I got to it, repeatedly. I had to go through those lines like 3 times. But I did eventually get some dinner. And then I was sane again. So, anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. And then on Thursday, the plan was for me to go to the conference, and then stuff happens later. Yeah, this is going to be a really long story. I may make more than one video of this. Anyway, so I go to the conference, we find out I'm not really going to have all that much free time anymore, and I want to say she's disappointed, but I may have been projecting. She's a cool person, I like to hang out with her. Anyway, Tuesday I go, everything was good, I'm a little tired, but they have free coffee. And I don't normally drink coffee, but I do to stay awake at events like that. On Wednesday, I decided I would try their tea. So I get English breakfast like Fancy Pants likes. Realized that the tea is not going to keep me awake because I fell asleep halfway through one of the early lectures. So I went back and got coffee at the next coffee social. I like the tea, but I got it when I wasn't feeling sleepy. And then, Wednesday night, I went to that dinner thing. On the way back, I met a very interesting person. I met lots of interesting people over the course of this week. I met grad students. I met lots of Canadians. They are really crazy about their robots. They're like, we do robotic arms. Don't anyone else try to do robotic arms, because that's our thing. I've never seen a Canadian be so aggressive about something, but okay, if that's what you want, you can have it. We'll stick to rockets and propulsion systems and things that could possibly explode and kill people, because that's what Americans like. So where did we go from there? Oh yeah, I had the Wednesday dinner thing. So I got back late because the dinner ran until like 9ish. And on Wednesday, my family's car broke down, and my older brother already had a car rental reserved, so he ended up using that to meet his own needs, but I had to make other arrangements. So that night, I made other arrangements, and I rode something called the Megabus back from DC I boarded at 11 in the evening, and I got off at 4 in the morning. Fancy Pants' aunt knew about that service, and I'm glad she did. I actually came out ahead financially, because then I didn't have to pay for the car rental. But it was kind of awkward being in downtown Durham for a couple of hours, because I got off at 4 a.m. and my connection didn't arrive until 6. And unlike DC, Durham's not a lively place. And when it is lively at 4 in the morning, you wish you were somewhere else. So I had a long, quiet stay at the transportation system. I did not tell my mother that's where I would be beforehand, because as I told her aunt, as I told Fancy Pants' aunt, when I used to live in Durham, the gangs had been shooting bullets into the buses, and that was why my mother wouldn't allow me to ride the buses, but they should have stopped doing that by now. Then I got on the TTA. I took it like 2 or 3 times. I connected something somewhere. I finally got to Raleigh, and I called up Sarah, and I'm like, Sarah, guess how long I've been awake? I'll give you a hint. It's more than 24 hours. So, life was crazy, but I finally made it to Animazement, and this video is almost 15 minutes long, so I'm going to label it Part 1, and Part 2 will be my Animazement trip. I had a big week.